Time sensitive. Since the wedding is. This Friday, I was asked by my mother-in-law a while ago to make 2 cakes for my sister-in-law's wedding. From my understanding, these will not be the main dessert or the actual wedding cake they cut for photos. Just extra cakes for wedding guests with food allergies. I myself have a dairy allergy, and my husband's goddaughter, who is the flower girl, has celiac. She asked me to make a gluten-free cake and a dairy-free cake. Baking is not my main job, but I did go to culinary school and I occasionally bake out of my home on the side and have made wedding cakes before my mother-in-law said she would pay me to make them and buy ingredients, but she has yet to pay me anything or buy anything to my knowledge. She also never sent me reference photos or inspo pics of how sister-in-law wants the cakes to look, which I did request. For added context, sister-in-law and I are not close anymore. We used to get along well in the beginning of my relationship with my now husband's sister-in-law's brother, but over time we have drifted apart. My husband and I are not fans of her fiancé, and that definitely has put a strain on our relationship with her. But we try to just accept the fact that if she's happy, we can be happy for her. The events over the last month have led me to not want to make the cakes for her wedding anymore, but I am just wondering if it will make me the asshole if I don't make them back out so close to the wedding. About 4 weeks ago was my sister-in-law's bachelorette party. She got an Airbnb for the whole weekend for her and her bridesmaids and my mother-in-law. I was not invited to stay at the Airbnb. I was told there weren't enough beds, but was invited to be a part of the Saturday plans, and I could get my own hotel if I wanted. It was about 2 hours away from where I live, so I just decided I would drive there and back and save on a hotel. My mother-in-law calls me the morning of and basically tries to convince me it isn't worth the drive, and I should just stay home, and my sister-in-law would understand and would want me to be safe. Mother-in-law said she was worried about me driving alone on unfamiliar roads late at night. On the way back, I said I didn't want to miss out on my sister-in-law's bachelorette party and said I could maybe look into getting a cheap hotel. I got all the way there only to get a call from one of the bridesmaids telling me the girls talked, and they weren't really comfortable hanging out with someone they don't know, and I was basically uninvited. So I drove the 2 hours back home trying not to cry the whole time. I was very hurt by this from both my mother-in-law and sister-in-law. At the time, I thought my mother-in-law was just being overly worried about me. But after the fact, I was thinking, did sister-in-law not want me there and was trying to get mother-in-law to get me to not go? I wasn't sure why I was even invited if that was the case, and why, if she changed her mind and didn't want me there, that she couldn't have told me herself. Or before I drove 2 hours there, I told my husband everything, and he was so embarrassed and upset by what happened. He messaged his mom and said how upset and disappointed he was that I was treated that way, and mentioned how hurt I was by everything. She never responded to his message and didn't reach out to me either. I also never heard from sister-in-law Flash. Forward to last weekend, I found out there's another bachelorette party in town planned for sister-in-law and her fiancé for family. Only this time, my husband was invited and told specifically not to bring anyone else that wasn't personally invited by the bride or groom. Well, I never got a message or invite to the party, so I assume I wasn't invited, and am still hurt. I was uninvited to the last one. I tell my husband that he doesn't have to stay home for my sake and that it's his sister, and he should go if he wants to. He was getting calls from his cousin and sister asking where he was. I didn't want to keep him from his family or somehow get blamed for him not going, so I told him to go. And I'd be okay, even though I was very hurt by being excluded again. Well, he goes, and when he gets back, he tells me that his ex-girlfriend was there. I was a mess after that. Knowing that an ex-girlfriend of my husband was invited to my sister-in-law's second bachelorette party meant for family. And I didn't even know my sister-in-law. And husband's ex were friends. This was a whole new level of pain and confusion, and seemed very intentionally spiteful or extremely coincidental. All of this is so sudden and out of the blue, I am shocked and am at a loss for words. I truly don't understand what I could have done to cause his family to turn on me and be so hurtful and not care about my feelings. My relationship with my sister-in-law has been a little strained lately, but not to this degree, and it was something I was hoping we could work on and fix. But it is hard for me to imagine coming back from this. And up until now, I thought I had a pretty great relationship with mother-in-law. I sent a message to her over the weekend about how hurt I am by her and her family. And as I'm writing this, she still hasn't responded. I don't want to back out on the cake order so close to the wedding, but also, I barely even want to go to the wedding anymore, let alone bake and decorate 2 different cakes for it. I'm worried if I don't do the cakes, they will hold it against me and make me look like the bad guy. I don't want to damage the relationships even further, but I'm struggling with so many emotions with this. It's a battle of self-respect and also guilt of backing out and leaving them hanging right before the big day. Would I be the butthole if I don't make cakes for my sister-in-law's wedding? Notable comments. Somebody said, I don't think you would be the asshole, but you should let mother-in-law know with as much time as possible to find an alternative. In my opinion, the mother-in-law not responding to you and the 2 exclusions from the bachelorette parties would be clear signs to me. My presence is not wanted. I personally wouldn't go to the wedding, but also know that since it appears they already hold a negative opinion of you, they will most likely view whatever you choose to do negatively. By anticipating the backlash and acting with as much grace and kindness in your future communications with them, you can create healthy boundaries while remaining respectful. Not that they have been respectful to you. The only possible reason you gave is that she knows you don't care for her fiancé and may want to be surrounded by people who do right now. In which case, attending the wedding but keeping your distance may be the move to show your support. I would encourage you to not reach out to the bride right before her wedding, though. Or during the honeymoon, another comment. Absolutely do not under any circumstances make those cakes, uninvite yourself from the wedding, and do not be around them anymore. They have shown you their opinion of you, so now you move accordingly. Also let your husband handle his family. If he wants to stay home and support you, let him. Don't reason with him to get him to go somewhere. Let him make his own decision. Someone said I would message the mother-in-law tomorrow. Hi, mother-in-law. As you have not yet provided the supplies necessary to bake the cakes nor communicate with me any further regarding your request to bake them, I assume you have found someone else to fulfill your order. This works for me perfectly as I am no longer willing or able to make the cakes on or before Friday. Enjoy the wedding. I will not be attending. I wouldn't even trust that they actually even want the cakes. You would probably show up and they'd feign looking confused and make you take them back home again. They're trash people. Don't let their trash actions or trash thoughts about you bring you down. You don't want or need people like this in your life, as you've said. You've done nothing wrong and they're off acting like lunatics. Tell your husband to deal with them from now on. Let them give you the ick and leave them in the dust about 7 months later. I didn't end up making the cakes I did. However, make a dozen cupcakes, I found it to be a compromise I was comfortable with. I was very conflicted, but ultimately would have felt too guilty not making anything for the wedding. Mostly because I was providing dessert options for those with food allergies, and having a food allergy myself. I know how hard it is to go to big events and not be able to eat anything. Being a baker, it is especially disheartening to see everyone else enjoy a dessert and not be able to have a safe treat to enjoy as well. I wanted to be sure my husband's goddaughter had a gluten-free dessert. So I decided to make 12 vegan nut-free, gluten-free cupcakes to accommodate all most allergens and dietary restrictions. I asked my mother-in-law if she still wanted me to make them, and she said yes. I said I would need payment up front and she would need to provide the vegan butter and gluten-free flour. I severely undercharged for my baking, so I felt like it was a fair ask. She had my husband's other parent or mother-in-law too. Husband has 2 moms, this will be relevant later. Drop off the ingredients and payment on Wednesday evening before the wedding. Keep in mind the wedding was Friday, so with my full-time job schedule, I only had Thursday night to make the cupcakes and missed the rehearsal dinner. Not that we were planning on making it anyways, to be honest. Sister-in-law and her now husband didn't go to our rehearsal dinner because he didn't like anything on the menu. So we were already leaning towards not going to that. Flash forward to the wedding. I told my husband that I wanted to go at least to the ceremony because it was his family after all, and I wanted to go for his sake. I told him going into it that I was only there to support him, and that I was not intending to discuss any of the conflict or tension or prior events, and didn't want to bring any drama to his sister's wedding day. I truly did not want to take away from her day. After the ceremony, I go into the reception hall to find the dessert table and drop off the cupcakes. Lo and behold, there were 3 freaking dozen other cupcakes purchased from a gluten-free specialty bakery on the table, and no room for my cupcakes to go. I started shaking. I tossed the box of cupcakes on top of the table and went to go find my husband. I found him staring at the seating chart. He said, "Did you see who we were seated with?" I took a look at the chart and was shocked but yet not surprised to see we were sat at the farthest table in the back, and not with any member of his family except his donor dad. Now, a little backstory context: as I mentioned before, my husband and sister-in-law have two moms. My husband and sister-in-law have two different donor dads, so sister-in-law has no relation, blood or otherwise, with my husband's donor dad. My husband has never had the intent or interest to meet his donor dad, despite pressure from his moms. His donor dad was an acquaintance of his parents, so they did know him and would send him cards and pictures. Other the years, but my husband never wanted to meet him. He never felt the need to, because he already had two parents. Mother-in-law did pressure us to invite donor dad to our wedding the previous year. I left the decision up to my husband, and he chose not to. So back to the wedding. I was fuming. As if I wasn't already shaking enough. It's one thing to hurt me, but to mess with my husband? Hell no. I could not believe his own family would do this to him. No one should be blindsided like that and forced into meeting their donor dad when they've specifically expressed that they do not care to. And if the husband wanted to meet his donor dad, it should be on his terms. It should not be sprung on him at his sister's wedding, and we're sitting at the same table with him and not with any of his actual family. But wait, it gets better. Guess who is sitting at the family table? Yep, you guessed it. The damn ex-girlfriend. I seriously can't make this stuff up. I was floored and absolutely jaw-dropped at their audacity. I didn't care about the bachelorette parties or the damn cupcakes anymore. My main focus was my husband. He was shaking too, and clearly distressed and getting very anxious, nearing an attack. I asked him what he wanted to do and remind him that I was only there for him and would stick by him no matter what he decides to do. I asked if he wanted to leave and go home. I asked if he wanted to go get dinner somewhere else, and we can come back for the rest of the reception later. He said he just needed a drink, so we left the cocktail hour and went to the hotel lobby bar. Same building as wedding reception. A friend of ours was working, and we immediately vented to her and told her what was going on. After we had a drink, or two, to calm down, I again asked my husband what he wanted to do. He wanted me to go in and check if his donor dad was there or not. And if he was, he wanted me to see if someone would switch seats with us. So I went in and scouted out the area. I didn't see him. I know what he looks like only from pictures on Facebook. We went in and sat down at the assigned table full of strangers right before the dinner was about to start. Then thankfully, a couple that my husband knew asked us if we wanted to join them at their table since there were open seats. We gladly joined them, so at least we were by someone we knew. That's when we saw that they had special cups that said something along the lines of, "My name is my drinks are on the bride and groom." And we were like, oh, that's interesting. This couple was an older couple that used to babysit my husband and sister-in-law, so not family, but family friends. We looked around and saw that all the bridal party and family members had those cups and they were personalized. We, of course, were never given told or offered ones. But guess who did have one? Yup, right again, the ex-girlfriend. Just another slight against me, us. And to be clear, we were not expecting free drinks, or to be on the bride and groom's tab or anything. But the fact that we were not only excluded, but basically cast away from the family table hidden in the back. Almost ambushed with an awkward as-folk dinner, telling me they still wanted me to make the cupcakes when they already had ordered them from another bakery in town, and everything else we were just at a loss for words. We tried to make the best of it and just enjoy the night despite it all. We danced with his goddaughter, got really drunk, thanks to the lovely and supportive bartenders at the lobby bar, and I made sure mother-in-law saw me give one of my cupcakes to the goddaughter. I took the rest of the cupcakes and gave them to the lobby bartenders since they treated us more like family. Mother-in-law did try and come up to me and talk during the reception. She asked if I thought things would ever be okay between us again, and if we could get back to the way things were before. But I held true to my word and told her that this was not the time or place to talk things out, that this is sister-in-law's day. And I did not want to take away from that and make it about me, but that she made it very clear to me where I stand, and that she does not consider me family, and left it at that. After the wedding, we basically went low to no contact with them. Mother-in-law, too, tried to facilitate a family meeting with everyone, but that has yet to happen. It's been 7 months and we still have not talked. Zero contact from sister-in-law. Mother-in-law has tried reaching out several times but has never truly apologized or owned up for anything. Just that she's sorry for the rift between us and that she was hurt too, and basically victimizing herself. So that about sums it up. Hopefully the update was worth the wait. Some comments below a commenter. So much info missing from here. Seems like husband is mother-in-law, two's son, and sister-in-law is mother-in-law, one's kid. Have they treated sister-in-law like golden child? And your husband is a scapegoat. Why is sister-in-law having such animosity with you? Original poster replied, not that it should matter which parent they came from, but mother-in-law too was the birth mom for both. They used different sperm donors for each kid though. Husband was a rainbow baby and actually grew up the golden boy. But from what I've seen, they've overcompensated that now by enabling sister-in-law and never telling her no. Another commenter. Do you have any idea if mother-in-law too knew what went down with the bachelorette party and cupcakes? I'm wondering if her attempt at a group meeting is her trying to get both sides of the story. And mother-in-law 1 and sister-in-law are not cooperating. The whole thing is so weird. Like, what could have happened to change the dynamic so drastically when everything seemed normal on your end, until cake order and Bach party? I'd be so mad about the 4 hours of driving. They're cowards for not replying to you. And that's really a keeper friend who agreed to do that for you. Original poster replied, I'm sure she only knows sister-in-law, mother-in-law, one's version of events. And I'm not sure how they spun it. Mother-in-law 2 and husband are very similar in their conflict avoidance and peacekeeper tendencies. I've had to sweep a lot of my feelings under the rug with this family before, and I'm done doing that. I'm not cleaning up the mess they made. Husband has been a very supportive partner through this and is fully on my side and has my back, as I have his. He just tends to avoid hard conversations and shuts down. It gets quiet when people are upset. It's something we are working on. I've suggested couples counseling so we can both learn better ways to communicate and deal with conflict moving forward. There's definitely things we have to unlearn too. I want to break the cycle and not carry on the toxic traits we may have picked up from our parents and past relationships so they don't affect our marriage. He is open to it. As for the friend, yes, she is a real one. A great friend to both me and my husband, and we're very thankful to have her in our lives. And yeah, things had been good with his mother-in-law prior. We would often get lunch, dinner, or drinks, just the two of us, and talked frequently. I thought we were actually getting closer than ever before, but it all unraveled so quickly. It was quite the blindside. I was mostly hurt by her sudden lack of communication, and that she shut me out and pushed me aside so easily. I fully understand that sister-in-law is her daughter, and it was her wedding. I was not expecting my feelings to be her priority by any means, but just to be shown a little empathy, perhaps. Show a little understanding or acknowledgement of my feelings. Offer any sort of explanation. Maybe.